So viewers, I just got back from watching Apple's WWDC 23 keynote, and Apple is taking a serious stab at the future. We can't forget Apple's the biggest tech company in the world, and really the main reason they were able to do that is with the iPhone. And the iPhone has been improving slowly over the years, but nothing crazy or groundbreaking. So what has Apple been doing this whole time? They've been developing an AR mixed reality headset. This is something I honestly was not expecting to see, and some of the people have been saying that this headset was coming, but I did not believe them. But it's here and they announced it. So we're going to get into everything about this headset because I just have to talk about it. We're going to start here by getting our news straight from the source. So this is what it looks like. It definitely looks like the headset that we might expect to see from Apple. Very clean design. You know, they have this design philosophy they carry through their products very well. The main thing you're going to notice here that no other headset has is the fact that you can see the person wearing its eyeballs through the headset. And the way that they were able to accomplish this, I mean, when you think about it, you're putting something over your eyes. How is it going to be able to see your eyeballs? The way they accomplish that is very insane. And the amount of technology they packed into this little device is reflected in the price. I'll say that. It's expensive. But this is 100% unlike any other AR, VR, mixed reality headset we've seen before. It's in its own class of product. I keep seeing people say, oh, the Meta Quest 2 or the Meta Quest 3 is in trouble. No, it's not, because it's not even close for a comparison. They're two different products that are going to serve mostly different use cases. They're calling it the Apple Vision Pro. Welcome to the era of spatial computing, where digital content blends seamlessly with your physical space, so you can do the things you love in ways never before possible. It's available early next year in the US, so we're not getting it in 2023. This is a 2024 product. By the way, viewers, later in the video, I'm going to get into some of the other directly AI-focused news that came out of Apple. They never said AI once in the keynote, but there's a lot of AI going on in the background. But they did say machine learning, which is interchangeable terms. So yes, Apple had plenty of AI to announce. For me, though, this is the most crazy thing. This is so funny. It's literally a direct scene from the Ready Player One movie. That was like an augmented reality VR dystopian movie, and it literally is a scene where this exact moment happens. So I can't imagine that they didn't kind of rip that from the movie. I mean, here's a literal scene from the Ready Player One movie. It's like the exact same thing. Seamlessly blending digital content with physical space. It's like having an iPad that's a VR headset, essentially. Right now, that's what it really seems to be. So it's going to have its own app store with actual support for all the iPad apps that just work in 2D. But, you know, it's going to have all of its traditional Apple apps that you expect. The big question was, is there going to be any controllers for this thing? How is Apple going to design a controller? And they said, no, we don't need controllers. You just use your hands. This actually reminds me of when the iPhone was announced and he said, oh, do we use a stylus? No, we're just going to use our fingers. So Apple actually sees controllers in terms of VR and AR headsets as not really being needed at all. They think it's just in the way. I gotta say, I agree with that, unless, you know, you're using a cheaper headset like the Quest 2, where you can't really get the hand tracking down with that cheaper technology. But Apple has some very expensive technology going on here. This thing has 6 cameras and all of these different sensors to track your hand movements. It tracks your eyeball movements, all processed on a single chip. They have a dual chip design, and one chip is literally only there to assess the environment around you and track everything, so it knows what's going on. Half of the processing power for the device is just so that these controllers work well and some of the other features of the headset to make it a true mixed reality VR AR headset. Let's take a look at their little video here. You can see you just use these little gestures to flick around. We'll see how intuitive they are in actual practice. I mean, I'm going to have to try one of these things on, at least by going to an Apple store. Honestly, this thing is a little unaffordable. Maybe I'll be blown away at the Apple store, though, but the price tag is hefty. We'll get to it. But yeah, you simply just gesture around. You actually use your eyeballs to look at stuff. So this thing, like I said, it tracks your eyes. So you'll be able to look at different apps and they just pop up like, oh, you want to open this one? Oh, do you want to open this one? So you're literally using your eyeballs and your hands to move everything around, so it feels very natural. So obviously, they showed a lot of watching movies on this thing, and I don't know about you guys, but I've used multiple VR headsets. I actually owned an original HTC Vive. I own a Quest 2, and my sister owns one of the leading gaming headsets, which is the Valve Index. I have never once desired to watch a movie on any of those because the headsets are so heavy on your face. They're so cumbersome. But Apple seems to have really put a lot of effort into making this thing comfortable and adaptable for every type of head design and eyeball design that comes with being a human in this world. I don't know though, the displays seem to be pretty revolutionary. Each display on this eyeball, by the way, is over 4K in size, so it's over a 4K screen that's actually the size of only a postage stamp for each eyeball. I wonder what the refresh rate is going to be on those screens. They didn't mention it. It better be high though, because high refresh rate displays are fantastic for either mixed reality or virtual reality, all that stuff. Something tells me though that it's not going to be high refresh rate. I don't know. I mean, the minimum for me at this point for a headset is like 90 hertz. For your desktop and your apps will follow. As you can see, this is an example of using the mixed reality headset. You can have a little virtual keyboard and just type with that virtual keyboard in your fingers if you want. I hope that works very intuitively. That'd be nice. You've got your different apps and your workflows here. I mean, this thing has to be justifiable to be used as a computer replacement, or it's just not worth its price for most people, I think. And with visionPro, you have an infinite canvas that transforms how you use the apps you love, arrange apps anywhere, and scale them to the perfect size. Again, they show a lot of dragging, making the workspace of your dreams a reality, all while staying present in the real world around you. Big multitasking here. You know, you can have notes on one side, a web browser in the middle, messages on one side, just like a computer. Very, very much multitasking. This was pretty insane. They have 3D camera built into this, so you can record moments in 3D and then watch them back in 3D. I don't know how much of the world it captures in 3D. Like, they show a lot of this little tile-based recording, but yeah, it would be pretty cool to see 3D moments in reality again. I mean, that's some true futuristic stuff right there. Are you really just going to be staring at photos all day on your mixed reality headset? We want to see something more immersive. The FaceTime looks very, very much insane. Audio drivers on either side of the headset that make directional sound happen. So, you know, if you're looking at this guy on FaceTime, for example, and this is your view, you hear him more towards the left side of your ear. This woman is going to be on the right side, and this guy's going to be directly in the middle. So the FaceTime conference calls are going to be pretty crazy. This also supports Microsoft Teams and Zoom and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of third-party app development already in the works. Let's go over the design specifics. I'm sure everyone's going to be very interested in how this thing is going to fit on my head. Is it going to be comfortable? What's the battery life? All these questions. They did go over this stuff. The most ambitious product Apple has ever created. Yeah, you don't say. This thing is risky, guys. It is not easy to make a headset that is comfortable, that you want to use every day. And at this price, that is a steep sell. Very few people are going to be able to afford this headset. So they talk about its enclosure first and foremost. It's a singular piece of three-dimensionally formed laminated glass that flows into an aluminum alloy frame that curves to wrap around your face. Definitely looks like an Apple product. And yeah, this is obviously a screen in there that can either show your eyeballs, or if you're watching a movie, it's going to show some blurriness to show that you're immersed in some sort of an experience. These vents here on the side are for cooling, obviously, because this thing needs a whopping amount of processing power to do everything it's trying to do. So it has a light seal, obviously, to make sure that light doesn't enter your vision when you're wearing this thing, because it totally is going to destroy whatever experience you're trying to view. It gently flexes and adjusts to conform to the different fascias that might be wearing it. And they say it delivers a precise fit while blocking out any light. And again, this whole thing is actually detachable. Like, you can take this part off, you can take this part off, this part comes off, this part comes off. Anyways, the headband, which is super important here, it provides cushioning, breathability, and stretch. And of course, you've got a dial to adjust it. How hard is it pressing on my face? I've had a lot of VR headsets that just aren't comfortable, whether they're super tight on my face so they don't fly off when I'm looking around. And I've had a lot of ones where it's just sitting on my nose. So we'll see how comfortable this thing. It is really difficult to make a headset that's comfortable. The Quest 2 is all right. The Valve Index is all right, but they're definitely a lot bigger and bulkier than this. Hopefully this thing is super light. So going into power, it does actually have some external battery power, and it's up to 2 hours of use. I think if they're going to compromise on anything, I think battery is the right thing to compromise, honestly. Because when you think about it, the battery is just going to make this thing heavier. And the heavier the headset is, the worse it's going to be, and the less you're going to want to wear it. The weight and the size of these VR, AR headsets have been one of the main factors that have been killing sales for them. No one wants to wear these things for hours on end. Hopefully the Apple Vision Pro is going to be one of the ones that you want to wear for hours. But yes, they also have this plug-inable little cord that you can attach on the side real quick, and then it can sit in a little battery bank that's in your pocket. I honestly think that's fine. You have your phone in your pocket anyways. The only thing is that there's now going to be a cord going from that into your head. I don't think it'll be too bad, honestly. I think I could deal with a little pocket battery and a cord going up to my head, or you could just plug it directly into the wall. Again, they have this whole eyesight thing, which is just absolutely ridiculous. When you first buy one of these Vision Pro Apple headsets, you actually have to hold it the other way around and it scans your face and makes like this 3D representation of your face. And I think that's how they're doing the eyeballs. But of course, it's also using these IR sensors to track where your eyes are looking the whole time. So you can use the headset. So it's able to tell whether you're blinking in a moment and essentially reflect all of the facial expressions. Really, really cool concept, honestly. They are actually attacking all of the modern faults of current AR and VR headsets. They're trying to push past the boundaries and really open us up into a world of technological development on wearable headsets. We'll see if it's any good, man. We gotta wait for those reviews. The controls are super simple. We've just got a general button over here on the side, and then we've got a dial that's similar to their Apple Watches, and that just essentially adjusts how far into virtual reality you are. So you can have the dial all the way turned back, and it's just like your general apps, and you can see the rest of the world around you, or you can turn the dial and crank it, and then you fully become immersed in VR. I'm a little bit worried on whether or not this thing is going to be able to run all of your regular Mac OS apps, because like I said, this thing is so expensive that I honestly don't see people buying it unless they can use it as a real legit computer alternative. So you can see this is sort of what the user interface looks like when you open it up. It's clear and it adjusts essentially to the environment. Like I said, this thing has a bunch of sensors, a bunch of cameras to detect your 3D environment around you. So there's actual shadows being casted by the objects in your OS onto the surface accurately, apparently. We'll see how good it looks in actual practice, but that's what they're claiming. I mean, this is the part where I was like, wow, okay, this thing is going to be unlike anything we've seen before. It's going to blend into the environment around it, and really, they're trying to make it look like it's a part of your reality, true virtual mixed AR, VR reality. But, you know, so far we got Apple TV, Safari Photos, Mindfulness, App Store, email and settings, just some very basic apps here. Apple doesn't really seem to have developed too many apps that are just straight up meant for just this headset. It seems like they're really relying on the third party to come through and make this thing worth your time. I doubt this thing is going to have any compatibility with any of your previous headsets, any of your games on Steam VR, for example. I don't think that there's going to be any cross compatibility. They say it's built on the foundation of all their previous operating systems. Interactions feel intuitive and magical. Okay, Apple. Simply look at an element, tap your fingers together to select it, and use the virtual keyboard or dictation to type. And again, that dictation is important because Apple is actually using AI to do this dictation. They announced today, and we'll talk a little bit about it later, that they used AI, or in their case, machine learning, to develop a new algorithm that can take audio and convert it into text very well, or actions. It's going to be really crazy to see how this all plays out. I don't know how they're going to make these cameras make sense, because cameras are very much flawed objects. Like, when you're in a dark room, cameras have all of this noise that's happening, especially really small sensor cameras that we see in devices made by Apple right now. I don't know how good it's going to look in that pass-through mixed reality. And in great lighting, it might be really good. It's very difficult to design lenses that accurately output to your eyeballs, so we'll see how this goes. This is just ridiculous. Spatial audio, essentially they're doing ray tracing with the 3D objects around you to make the audio feel as though it's in the room that you're in. I have no idea how this is going to play out, but apparently if you've got walls and stuff right next to you, it's going to react as if that's how the object is working. It's detecting the world around you and adjusting things in real time. Here is the responsive precision eye tracking. Look at all of these sensors and cameras and everything that has to go on. Invisible light is projected onto each eye. Is that good for your eyeballs? I don't know. Ultra precise input without you needing to hold any controllers. You can actually select elements just by looking at them. Again, here is the sophisticated sensor array. Lots of cameras. Lots of sensors. High-resolution cameras transmit over 1 billion pixels per second to the displays so you can see the world around you clearly. Well, let's try to calculate the frame rate of the displays then. Yeah, it seems like this is going to be a 60 hertz display. If it's a little over a billion, yeah, it looks like we're looking at 60 hertz display. That is going to be a tough sell for me personally. I mean, I'll have to wear it and try it, but here are the chips. Again, they have this new R1 chip, which is just meant to essentially take all of these sensor inputs and just control them. And obviously we're using an Apple M2 chip here, Apple's custom silicon, very, very powerful and very efficient. This is like desktop level performance. So, you know, this is a lot stronger than your iPhone. It has to be a lot more powerful than your iPhone. It all displays it within 12 milliseconds, which is a pretty darn good response time for a lot of processing to occur. Virtually lag-free real-time view of the world. They've went through here and designed an entire platform, just like they did with the Apple App Store, to make sure developers can create apps, because that's really what they're banking on here. They don't just have enough in the OS for you to be satisfied. You need to be able to download all of your favorite apps. They also did say, though, that a lot of the traditional iPad apps would also be available for this thing, but we want dedicated apps that provide us with VR and AR experiences and new ways to be efficient when working or having really cool technological experiences. So the OS design looks pretty good, as we expect from Apple. I'm really interested in, you know, what are some of the specific immersive experiences that I can have with this thing. I don't just want to browse the web. So they've partnered with Disney to offer some, you know, the first experiences that you can have with this thing. They show off some pretty cool stuff in this, so I'll let it speak for itself.
You could experience your favorite stories in unexpected ways. Or in unbelievable places. You could do more than just watch sports. You could be at the game without leaving your home. Or be part of the action like never before.
I'm sure this portion of the video really caught a lot of your eyes too, where, you know, apparently we can have like this top-down view of the sporting event and like these real-time 3D replays. I have a feeling that stuff like this is not going to be available at launch. This is something we could see years down the road, I bet, but not right now. The sporting event would probably have to be equipped for this to be possible. I doubt this is coming at launch. And also, yeah, viewers, Disney does own ESPN. You know, they also show off stuff like this where you can have, you know, a 3D view of a turtle and you know, you're having this experience under the water. So nothing really all of that specific in general in terms of the content we're going to be able to see at launch. I assume we're going to be hearing a lot more of the different content and experiences we can have with this thing when it comes closer to launch, because this thing, I mean, it's about a year away from actually getting in people's hands, right? They also show off stuff like this little dinosaur demo where he crawls through the screen into your room. And it does have the sensor set up and array to be able to do immersive experiences like that. They also show off very typical gaming where it just becomes like a gaming monitor. Not really that exciting, honestly. I don't want to play like iOS games with a PlayStation controller sitting with the VR headset on. I want to play real AAA games. I don't want to play these iOS games.
You can receive a 3D object in Messages, pull it out, and look at it from every angle, just as if it was there in front of you. It's magical, and it's easy to interact with the world around you. So with Apple Vision Pro, you can create your perfect setup for whatever you're doing and multitask with ease. Use the virtual keyboard or dictation to type. With Vision Pro, you have the room to do it all. Vision Pro also works seamlessly with familiar Bluetooth accessories, like Magic Trackpad and Magic Keyboard, which are great when you're writing a long email or working on a spreadsheet in Numbers.
So that's pretty cool. You actually do have the ability to use a traditional keyboard with this thing. They have like this Magic Trackpad, but I would love to be able to connect this thing to a mouse, honestly. Like a mouse and keyboard would be nice at certain times with this thing.
Complete HeartX creates an interactive 3D beating heart, giving students a whole new perspective on the body's most important function. JigSpace lets designers collaborate to review a concept like the design of the Alfa Romeo F1 car. And businesses can use stages from PTC to review and approve a new production line before manufacturing begins. Mix your favorite tracks with DJ with a reimagined spatial interface. And with SkyGuide, you are transported into your own personal planetarium. with views you can't see with the naked eye.
Again, it's going to take a long time for the really awesome, useful apps to come to market with this thing. So I think it's just really up to those early adopters to make this technology cheaper eventually and, you know, actually make it so that developers want to risk spending development time and money on making apps for this thing. So viewers, what does this thing cost? Well, Apple rounds it out to a clean $3,500. Very expensive. Again, guys, you can get a very, very well-equipped Mac Pro for that, so it better be able to replace it in a lot of scenarios. This thing better be an efficient work machine and be comfortable. It needs to, I need to be able to wear this thing for like 4 hours and just not have to worry about it. But I've never ever worn a headset that was that comfortable. But, I mean, this thing looks pretty revolutionary. It's extremely thin. I've never seen anything so thin. I think most people just aren't going to be able to afford that. The average person does not have that amount of disposable income. Maybe unless they can offer it to be used for full work scenarios, like I said, as a computer replacement. I don't spend that much money on everything, but I do spend that much money on computer hardware. People are very comfortable with their current computer setups, though. It's going to be hard to transition people. I would love to hear what you guys think about this thing in the comments below. Would you consider buying one? And again, viewers, this is why this thing is not competing with Meta's brand new Quest 3. The Quest 3, which is coming out in fall, is going to be $500. That's $3,000 less than Apple's headset. They're also calling this mixed reality as well. It's also very, very thin. Almost as thin as the Apple one, it seems, but of course it does have controllers, doesn't have all these IR displays, and it's a completely different product though, because this really isn't as much for productivity as it is for just gaming. They are in different pricing categories entirely. If you can't afford that $3,500 headset, and you want something similar, odds are you can afford this Quest 3. And that's why I'm saying this thing needs to be able to do workloads. It needs to be able to replace a computer. I really want to see multiple people wearing this thing at once and having them connected to each other like a true Oasis scenario. That would be awesome. Anyways, to go over more AI-focused news from this Apple event, their new Apple Pro actual Mac computer is just ridiculous. Combined memory, 192 gigabytes. It's essentially a large language model inference server inside your living room. Apple has added AI to PDF when using your iPad or your iPhone, so essentially the machine learning models, the AI is able to detect where your name is supposed to be, where your address is supposed to be, and it essentially can autofill all of your credentials in because it knows what everything is. It's using some sort of a language model to read the PDF. They also announced this journal app, which is essentially an entire AI-based app. They're sprinkling AI into all of their Apple features, really. I mean, the keyboard that you type on is going to be able to do autofill now. Text corrections are going to be a lot better. Your keyboard's going to be able to remember the way that you're typing and what words you use and don't want autocorrected. And honestly, guys, this is really what I was expecting from Apple. I wanted their speech recognition to get better. I wanted their keyboard to get better. I wanted them to incorporate this generative AI. It's interesting too because all this generative AI tech is running locally on these devices. So they've developed some large language model that can run on the Apple silicon very efficiently. None of this really seems like it's going out to some Apple server to come back with data. It's very interesting too because they just would not say the word AI, they just said machine learning. Guys, it's the same thing as AI tech. There's no like huge AI announcements added to Siri or anything. I was a little hopeful for that, but the headset was such a large announcement. Viewers, I think in the following years, we're going to see some really crazy additions being added into Apple's operating systems that use AI. Like, they need to overhaul Siri entirely. Siri needs to become like ChatGPT integrated essentially, or it's not going to be able to compete with the likes of what's going to come from Google. But Apple seems to be working on AI technology in the background. They are developing large language models that run on iPhones, and you bet that their future Apple headsets, future Apple Vision Pros are going to need to incorporate AI technology. We'll see where this all goes. It's crazy times we're living in. The AI coupled with this mixed reality headset is just shoving us towards the future at like an insane rate. I don't know. I am absolutely going to have to wear one of these Apple AR, VR headsets. I bet people are going to be lining up outside the Apple store to try one of those things on because it's crazy. Again, viewers, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.